Hello students, today we're going to learn about meiosis, which is a different type of cell division. Meiosis is a type of cell division that creates gametes, and gametes are sex cells, so your egg and your sperm. In order to maintain the proper chromosome number from one generation to the next, organisms that reproduce sexually must create gametes. And that is because gametes have half of the genetic information. So you can think of it as an egg has half of the DNA that you'll need, and the sperm has the other half, which means that we get a whole when those things combine, or a full set of genetic information when those two cells combine. And that is a really important thing to remember. There will probably be a question at least on your test about it. Homologous chromosomes. So our body has 23 pairs of chromosomes in every body cell, so aside from egg and sperm, which gives us a total of 46. Homologous pairs of chromosomes have the same structure, and we'll look at some images. And for each homologous pair, one chromosome comes from each parent. So again, that's where we're seeing that half from mom, half from dad. Within those pairs, 1 through 22, so all of the pairs are given a number. Pairs 1 through 22 are autosomes. So that means that they are going to code for pretty much all of your body cells and their functions. And then our sex chromosomes, X and Y, determine, they determine sex in mammals. And so the X and Y chromosomes are going to determine if that organism is male or female, and all of the characteristics that go along with that, such as which hormones are produced in what quantities and physical features. Homologous chromosomes have the same genes, but they might have different forms of that gene. So for here, an example, we are looking at this particular pair where you see one has an allele for purple flowers and the other has an allele for white flowers. So they are both carrying the gene for flower color, but one is purple, one is white. All body cells are diploid, and diploid means that you have two copies of every chromosome, so the full 46 chromosomes if we are talking about a human cell. Not all organisms have the same amount of chromosomes, but in most cases the body cells or the somatic cells are diploid. So diploid can be abbreviated as 2N because we have two sets of chromosomes. So you can think of N as an abbreviation for one set of chromosomes. So the body cells are diploid again, and one set comes from each parent, which we mentioned when we talked about homologous chromosomes. Haploid. Haploid sounds like half, so we have half of the number that we see in a diploid cell. Gametes are haploid, so they only have 23 chromosomes, where the diploid human cell would have 46. Haploid is abbreviated as N because these cells only have one copy of every chromosome, or they only have one set of chromosomes. Alright, so meiosis, you'll see this one here, or sometimes you'll see a 2, because we go through 2 divisions in meiosis. But before we divide, we are going to go through interphase. So just like we talked about in cell cycle, during interphase, the cell is going to grow. It's going to replicate its DNA so that our chromosomes are duplicated. So you'll see we go from this one sister chromatid to 2 sister chromatids, and then it will prepare to divide. And just a review of our chromosome structure, because it is very important in this topic. The whole X structure is the chromosome. we have two chromatids, which we see are copies of each other, and the centromere holds those two chromatids together. So we have the same names of phases as in mitosis, so we will go through PMAT just twice. So in prophase 1, homologous chromosomes form tetrads. So this prefix tetra means 4. We end up with 4 sister chromatids, and crossing over, which is genetic recombination, may occur. So let's dig into that. In crossing over, our homologous pairs are going to form. So the chromosomes from mom and the chromosomes from dad that carry the same genes are going to pair up. And during that part of prophase 1, and this only happens in prophase 1, these chromosomes are going to overlap within their homologous pair, and they can exchange DNA. And this doesn't happen all the time for every chromosome. Different size pieces can be exchanged, but this is how we get genetic recombination, which creates genetic diversity. So crossing over is one of the reasons that you do not look exactly like either of your parents, because in their body, when egg cells or sperm cells are being formed, we're getting a mixture of their own chromosomes, and then on top of that, mom and dad's genes combine when fertilization occurs. So just remember that this happens in prophase 1. Our homologous chromosomes pair and they exchange DNA. And here's just another representation of crossing over. You can see that we exchange DNA, and then they will get separated out into different daughter cells in the end. After prophase 1 comes metaphase 1, where our homologous chromosomes, our pairs of chromosomes, are lining up in the middle of the cell. And you can see our spindle fibers that are produced by the centriole are attaching to those chromosomes. During anaphase 1, the pairs are separated. So one chromosome will go to each side out of every pair. And then during telophase 1 and cytokinesis, we are getting 2 daughter cells. And these are going to be different from each other because of crossing over. And then the DNA is going to relax a little bit, and we go into meiosis 2. Meiosis 2 looks just like mitosis because we're going to separate our sister chromatids, and it's going to occur simultaneously or at the same time in the 2 cells created during meiosis 1. So those 2 new cells we created in the first division are both going to go through this process now. So we repeat the cycle. We go through prophase 2. The cell is going to prepare for division, but during this time, there is no crossing over. We also do not repeat interphase because we want to end up with half of the chromosome number, so we don't want to replicate again. We go through metaphase 2, where now each chromosome is lining up at the equator or middle of the cell. Anaphase 2, the sister chromatids are separated, so those identical parts of the chromosome are going to be split up. And then telophase 2 and cytokinesis, our cytoplasm is separating, and the nucleus will reform in each cell. We now have 4 unique haploid cells, so they have 23 chromosomes if we're talking about a human, and they are all different from crossing over. Okay, so summarize meiosis in your notes, and then if you have any questions, write them down. It could be anything related to fertilization, reproduction, etc.